Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to One Life Left with GDC at Gamasutra on Friday. Chris, this title gets longer every time we do it. It's the fifth day of our shows. How do you think it's going?
It's going pretty good. We're wrapping up week 1 of GDC 2017. Still got a couple more weeks left. Feeling pretty good though. Little dehydrated.
Feeling pretty good. I should say I'm Steve Curran. I'm a game designer.
I'm Anne Scansbury. I'm an audio producer.
Together we are One Life Left. We're also missing a Simon Byron.
Yeah, he went too hard. He's now had to go home.
He has. But we are joined by a replacement Simon.
I'm not Simon, but I am Steve Gaynor.
Okay. Are you actually?
No, that's a lie. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm Bryant Francis, a contributing editor to Gamasutra and frequent producer of the Twitch channel. So if you're in Twitch chat and you know the name, you remember my voice, my anonymous voice from our other streams, hi.
So for 4 days you've been driving this from behind the scenes, and now you're front of
I
house.
did it.
It's
I
good.
escaped from behind the
done.
camera, and I clambered in front of it.
So it's 2v2, One Life Left and Gamasutra.
Oh yeah, the odds have what? My brain melts.
And that's the Friday thing. But it's good because Brian is going to carry us through. It's not just us today. As we have for the last 4 days, we've had incredible guests on every day. It's escalated, hasn't it? It's got better and better. as we've
Something's
got worse
escalated, yeah.
It's escalated quickly.
and worse and worse and worse. Our guests, can you introduce yourselves, please?
Sure. I'm Joe Humphrey, and I'm from Inkle.
I'm John Ingold, and I'm also from Inkle.
I'm Brian Upton. I'm a freelance game designer from a company called Game on the Rails.
Really, really good to have you here. Have so many of you here as well right now with such strong voices. Now away you go. Just chat.
Well, all right. Since Steve is abdicating his responsibilities, I will ask you first to the Inkle brothers over here, the brothers Inkle. Why are you here at GDC? You're giving a talk, right?
Yeah, well, we were here to give some talks, but that kind of we sort of trumped ourselves because we actually announced a game this week.
What?
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Whoa.
well, I don't know
Oops.
where it came from. It was sort of accidental. Like, we've been working on it for about 3 years, and we thought, let's just drop it today. So, yeah, we've been stuck in the glorious San Francisco sunshine inside a nasty, ratty little room that we could hire down the road somewhere showing members of the press our new game. And they like it, but apparently we're in America. I haven't really experienced that yet at all.
Yeah, it's just only one step above maybe just, getting a meeting room at the airport, which I hear is what you do when you're a businessman. So I guess we must be businessmen.
So what did you announce?
It's called Heaven's Vault, and it's our big new title. So we're famous, if we're famous at all, for making 80 Days, which is like a text game. So we thought we would make a game that isn't a text game. So we've made a completely new kind of graphic adventure, and it's top. It's really good, and it's called Heaven's Vault, and it won't be out for at least a year and a half.
Okay, you say completely new kind of graphic adventure.
Completely new kind of graphic
What makes it
adventure.
completely new and or kind?
Joe.
Well, it's different in a lot of different ways, but one of the ways is that we have 3D environments and we have 2D characters within the environment. And so if you imagine that, it's actually a bit like Doom was back in the day, that you have 3D environments and you have
Our game
2D
is
sprites.
Absolutely
It's
nothing
just like
that.
Doom.
I just want to make that really clear.
So it's a graphic adventure with a lot of shooting and killing and jibs.
Right. So
It's a graphic adventure with a BFG.
So if you imagine like the Banner Saga art, but within a 3D environment where you can rotate the camera around the characters.
Yeah, so it's
that's
like
roughly
Banner
about-
Saga, but you can move around and do stuff.
Yeah.
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 I move around and do stuff in Banner Saga.
Yeah, you can move around and kill people. Well, dredge and people.
Yeah, it's not that kind of game either. No. And so it means
We're doing a great job of this.
so like every screenshot of it looks like a graphic novel. We kind of wanted to make a graphic novel that you can play. So it's like a graphic novel you can play and walk around and explore and do things and chat and sail and.
I love the way this pitch changes by the moment.
It's quite a big game. And
It's Banner
quite
Saga, but you
complicated.
do stuff.
Yes.
It's a graphical novel that you can play.
Yes.
It's Doom, but not.
I'll throw another one in there. It's a text adventure that doesn't have any text.
Oh yeah, and it's got a GTA layer.
Yeah, it's also GTA.
but,
that's true.
but with boats.
But it's in space.
Yeah.
With boats.
And it is such a coherent idea. You would not believe it.
It's an open-ended Gone Home that's kind of has Minecraft elements worked in.
Oh, but I totally forgot about the entire alien language.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's
yeah,
got
yeah.
an alien language.
You
in
spend
it.
most of the time translating a real language that we built from scratch.
In a
Nice.
kind of Witness-style puzzle thing.
All right.
Yeah,
So, as I
also
said-
like The Witness.
So basically, in short, it's kind of Doom.
And you self-published, right? This wasn't like the pitch.
I want to picture Bobby Kotick at Activision hearing this pitch and going, boys, I think this has promise.
So Brian, you're a game designer.
Yep.
How do you feel the Inkle guys are doing with their pitch right
Well,
now?
it's really interesting because I gave a talk at GDC this year called 30 Things I Hate About Your Pitch.
Uh-oh.
Well, we
Right.
gave you at least 30 things there, right? So
Yeah, I think you covered most of them already. That's
All right, what are the... I think it's a bit much to ask you to do all 30 right now, but give us a few of the things that you hate about game pitch.
well, what started this? I
Not
used to
that
be,
one. Not being abusive.
I used to be at PlayStation, and I took hundreds of pitches at PlayStation. And last year after the conference, my boss and I were like, man, these were really, really bad. And we were surprised at how bad they were. And so the number one thing that set us off was people giving us 20 minutes of backstory about their fantasy world at the beginning of their pitch. And we're like, we don't care about the political situation on your continent. We don't care about, like, your protagonist's troubled childhood. We really just want to know, like, do you hit things or not?
That's really, really interesting because I teach back in London, and I find that's the biggest mistake my students make as well when they're
People are
pitching.
excited. People are excited about their game and they want to share it.
Yeah, but they want to talk about the backstory and say, okay, you're this person in this planet, and that's not the killer thing. Usually it's, my game is Doom, but not. And then you've got me, right?
But don't you care about the world, right? You want to know. You want
totally,
to know what the world is,
100%.
but just like in a short wrap
Yes,
up, right? It's not
succinct.
just about the mechanics.
Yeah, I mean, the example I use is like the beginning of the original Star Wars. You know, it's like it's a time of trouble in the galaxy and the Rebel Alliance has stolen something. And if you could say that at the beginning, yeah, then you're totally cool and I get it, and you can go on and describe your all your mechanics. But it's the long political explanations.
Oh my.
Do you feel that changes when you have a narrative game?
Not really, because I get with the pitch, you want to like convey it quickly. Usually, you have like half an hour, and if the publisher is interested in what you're proposing, then at some point you'll get into all that and say, "Yeah, is this cool? Is this interesting? Is it a cool world?" But as a way to start your pitch, it's a real killer. It really just brings the whole room down.
I wonder. It's interesting that this is both a student problem and a designer pitching problem, because I mean, it's one thing to say that someone is so obsessed with the world they've made that all they can do is think about it and talk about it. But why do you think what's the gap in a designer's head that makes them not get all excited about the game thing they're trying to sell you? Because presumably a lot of these weren't bad games.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think what it is that people want you to understand their game in depth.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, then it's an important part of like deciding whether you're going to pick up a game or not. But that's not, even when you're deciding whether to buy a game as a consumer, you don't think, oh yeah, I need to understand this all in depth. There's going to be something that hooks you in.
Yeah.
I was
And
just
you
about.
need, yeah,
I
and
was
you need to
just-
start off with that.
Yeah, I was going to say, this sounds like it's broadly applicable to all marketing, really. You know, when you show your game on the marketing page of Steam, you need to be explaining what the game's concept is and exactly what you do, because so many gamers get really frustrated when you show a trailer that's got kind of, oh, this is the backstory behind the characters, but what the hell do you do in the game?
Exactly. Well, I mean, I've had pitches where people have never told me what you do in the game,
Oh,
or they would
God.
say like, "Oh yeah, it's a platformer." Okay, is there anything different? No, it's a normal platformer. Anyway, here's our monetization model. And I'm just like,
I saw a question thrown out on Twitter the other day, which was, what is the typical length of time you normally skip through a trailer to find out what the game is, right? And everyone was like, yeah, it's about 15 or 20 seconds. As soon as it starts, you just jump to that point. I was like, okay, I get it now.
So you cut out that 15 or 20 seconds of them when you're making that trailer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Or can you give us one other pitching mistake?
oh, the one that got the biggest laugh was, I think you're going to be a pain in the ass to work with. And you'd be surprised. I mean, because game
I've got
development's-
that before, yeah.
Yeah, game development's really hard, you know, and you get stressed, and there's money involved, and like there's deadlines, and if you can't be pleasant for 20 minutes in a pitch, you're not going to be pleasant when you're sleep deprived and like desperate to meet the next milestone. And it's a working relationship, and if you can't convey that,
How,
Yeah,
what
it's a
kind of
killer.
person is going into a pitch meeting and being a jerk like that? Like, yo,
Are we-
a-holes,
are we allo-
check this out.
Are we allowed to name names on the show?
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, I'd have pitches where people would get annoyed if I'd ask questions. They're like, no. I'm going to talk about that later. I'm like, I'm interested. That's why I'm asking you a question. Can you go off script just for a minute and maybe tell me about your inventory system?
Now, what does a good beginning of a game pitch sound like then?
Well, you usually start off saying who you are and who your company is, which is kind of boring, but it's really essential. But then start with a hook. I mean, what is it that's unique and original and different? And actually, you guys did a great job because you gave me 20 different hooks right there.
Pick one.
That's very kind.
There's 20 different ways this game is unique and
I
original.
kind of
different.
feel like we didn't actually give you the hook, though. That's the one thing we didn't do, because you asked, why is it a new kind of adventure game? And that is not the hook, which is kind of interesting. Maybe it should be the hook. I don't know. I'm now going to not tell you what the hook is. 'cause
Yeah, I was
can
gonna
see
say,
you
what
falling-
is our hook?
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, withhold information and
You can check
keep
out
them
a
guessing.
very nice article on Eurogamer where they beautifully.
Hang on. I would actually rather pitch the very nice article on Gamasutra from our own Catherine Cross,
You're right,
true.
That was also a very
was
nice
on this
article
show.
from Catherine
So
Cross, yeah.
can't let Euro get. Come on.
You don't think Gamasutra's getting enough publicity here already, right?
No, I'm a
Okay, you just need a little bit
selling
more.
out.
A little bit more in there.
On the show, we're talking about selling out every other day of the week, right? I'm getting in on the attitude here.
We're still trying.
Guys, I'm not going to ask you this question because you've just been in a room all week. But Brian, what else have you seen that is good this week?
The amazing stuff I saw was that they had board game designers here this week, and I'm kind of in awe of board game designers because as a game designer, it's kind of working without a net. You can't hide anything, and there was an amazing session on Pandemic Legacy and the design of Pandemic Legacy. One of the things they revealed is that every time they did a playtest, they would have to rebuild all the game components by hand from scratch because they had all these little boxes you had to open and stickers you had to stick on things, and it was a huge amount of labor apparently even to do a playtest, and they did hundreds of them. So,
Did you see the board games that you can eat?
no, I didn't.
Now that's a pitch,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's
a board game
great-
you can eat.
How do you playtest that? How much do you have to spend?
I don't know, but I'm 100% in.
Guys, did you actually get out of your room and see anything
Yeah,
else?
we saw a couple of things. I think the best thing that I saw was a talk about the marketing for This War of Mine, which is the game about the kids being killed in the war zone. And it was a really brilliant talk. It was from a really brilliant guy who walked this incredible line between saying, on the one hand, we came up with an emotionally affecting hook, and then we used that to sell our game to you. We took your money on the back of this thing, cynically, knowing that we were doing it consistently, and we never let you off the hook at any point, while still walking that line of not actually being an appalling person. And it is a good game, and it was a great marketing campaign.
We
And
need
there
to
was-
learn to walk that line,
but
don't we?
it was super. It was so tense. The atmosphere in that room, you just every moment expected him to just sort of break into a grin and say, and it was just so great. But he never did. He never broke character. And it was a really, really good talk. But whew, quite a difficult subject, really.
Awesome. When are we going to get to play Heaven's Vault?
Well, we've just been showing one demo of the story flow, the core kind of how do you move around, how do you talk to characters, how do you get the visuals to work, how do you explore the world. To press, it's a bit janky at the moment, and press understand that, and if we put that in front of people, they might not like it very much right now. But we're aiming for a kind of playable slice of plot by September, maybe, see if we can get that to some kind of expo for people to have a look at it, because we're quite excited to put it in front of, real human beings as opposed to just games press.
Okay. Super excited.
Who aren't real people?
So we'll see you at VRDC.
It's true
then.
though. We're not. We're not.
You're gonna make it in VR, right?
Brilliant, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Welcome back to One Life Left at GDC with Gamasutra. There's a huge queue behind us for something.
Yeah, I think
Are they
it's
queuing to-
sandwiches.
Oh,
The free sandwich line.
well, that seems pretty reasonable. Is it what? Experimental gameplay workshop. That's what they're all queuing
not
for.
sandwiches.
Not
The
sandwiches.
experimental sandwich workshop. Isn't just sandwich just a game of another kind?
I would play that. We are joined by two brand new guests, Tony and Glenn. Guys,
Hello.
can you
Hello.
introduce yourselves
Because you've just done that.
I am Tony.
in more depth?
Hi, I'm Tony. I am an indie developer from the UK.
And I'm Glenn. I work for Pinewood Film Studios, and we work on film and games and anything that makes a noise. So we're audio folk, really.
And we found out this week that it's really important to have audio in your games.
It
so-
is very important to have audio in your games.
I already knew that. Just so you
Oh
know.
no, I found it out this week.
Okay,
It's
good.
been educational here.
Do you just play games with the sound off?
Yeah,
man?
all the time.
How does that make you feel?
Pretty sad, to be
Aw.
honest. Yeah.
You made him sad.
So what have you been doing here, Glenn?
So the nice thing about GDC is just meeting up with actually already existing teams that we're already working with. The guys from Media Molecule have just walked past from Dreams and are just waving over, and they're one of them. And it's just taking that time out from our normal schedules to actually spend some time, get to know the teams that we're working with day in, day out. But we don't actually get to have any downtime or have a moment of no stress. And that's what's brilliant about GDC. And then seeing what everybody else is doing and
So, GDC for you is a time of no stress.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, for me, this is
This is
It's
downtime.
possible.
yeah.
How
this
do I
is
get
that-
into doing game audio? 'Cause it sounds
Well,
brilliant.
Well, no, because for me that means presumably this is down for you, which I don't want to think what normal life is like for you.
So you work at Pinewood. You do audio for films and things. How does it differ making audio for films and games?
Mostly just in the implementation side of things and some of the planning. But really, after years and years of doing both, I kind of take the best from both worlds, and not just sort of lots of people instantly say, "Oh, we want this to sound like a film," but actually, like, there's lots of times when I'm working on films where I've just finished on an action superhero movie, and there's times in that where I've taken the approach of granularizing things and breaking down a sequence that's very heavily CGI, and using the game approach and applying that to the way I work with film and vice versa. So it's very, at the end of the day, we just want things to sound really cool, and we want want it to be fun and emotive and have lots of player feedback, and it's the same in films. We got to pick that emotion out, and that's what we do.
Did you work on Episode 7, Star Wars Episode 7?
I did.
You
yeah.
did. Did you get to go on the Millennium Falcon?
I didn't get to go on the Millennium Falcon, but I did shoot.
Did you
I did get to record my first Stormtrooper.
I was gonna say, did you get to do any Foley for the Falcon, like on the
I-
Falcon for
I-
the Falcon?
I did dialogues, so ADR,
Yeah.
automated dialogue replacement.
Did you have to? I mean, okay. I'm gonna nerd out with a tech
Okay,
question.
let's
I'm
do it.
sorry. Okay,
Okay.
so how do you make the sound space for the Millennium Falcon? Because you're not just recording raw lines. You're trying to read like the spaceship has a given sound, right? Like where that space sounds like.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to do the sound of that. So
Right.
But yes, you could approach it in a number of different ways. But I think the guys probably at Skywalker Sounds
Oh, right.
are they gang to ask for that. But
Okay.
there's a lot of very creative sound design in there.
Yeah.
So good work by them.
Tony, have you been thinking about sound design for your game whilst hearing that?
I have a man that does sound for my game so that I don't have to think about it. Yeah. I don't. Sound is one of the bits of a game where I have so little talent in that area that I absolutely outsource it without even a second thought.
What else do you outsource?
So for the current game, my current unannounced game that I've been pitching around this week,
You've got an unannounced game.
I do, yeah.
What is it?
I'm
What
not
colour is
announced
it?
What does it sound like?
What does it
Make a
look-
sound. Make
What does
three
it taste
sounds.
like?
It sounds like woo.
It's ghosts.
Oh,
100% ghosts.
I thought that was like an IndyCar game.
It's ghosts driving cars.
So you've been pitching this week.
Yes.
How's that been going?
It's gone pretty well.
Okay.
Interestingly, from like the last little bit of chat, I had a couple of people say that my pitch was the best deck that they have seen all
Good
week.
work.
I mean, they said the game was rubbish, but
So
the pitch was quite good.
We were just talking about pitching. I don't know if you heard. Then you heard Brian talking about pitching. He told us about the sort of greatest mistakes people can make in pitches. What do you think? How do you think people can make a good pitch? How do you think people can do a good pitch? What makes your deck so special, Tony?
So specifically, the bits that people called out about mine were that I had actual market research in there of these are competing titles, and this is kind of how much they've sold, and that's the kind of market space that we're in. And apparently, most developers don't put that kind of, like, most developers are just talking about like the story of their game and the world of their game and all that kind of stuff, which is cool, but it's not the kind of.
How many
Not
how many
the
pie
business.
charts were involved?
There are no pie charts. There is one Venn diagram.
That's the exact right amount of Venn diagrams you should have in your game pitch.
The Venn diagram of the number of pie charts in a good pitch is quite small.
I would publish that game just based on that.
Wait, hold on. He told us there was one Venn diagram, but he didn't tell us if the Venn diagram was in the game itself. Maybe the game is a Venn diagram game.
It's a
It's a
game
Venn-
about ghosts making Venn diagrams of cars.
Is there a Venn diagram puzzle game? Is that a thing that exists? Because there should be.
Metricore,
Yeah, that's a
something like
platform
that.
game.
but
Doesn't count.
it's got charts in it.
I know it does. You're 100% right. I wonder. That's a really good idea. So, I'm
It's
going to
an
make
idea.
that. No one else is. I'm not going to make it. So someone else should, and then I can sue them, and then I can claim some of the profit. I don't know. Okay.
When you've not been pitching or not been having meetings, have you guys seen anything else interesting this week?
Well, I've been out recording actually, so just generally.
Recording sounds.
Yeah, because I'm a massive geek when it comes to audio.
What's the best sound you recorded?
The best thing I've recorded, I tried to find a way to put a contact mic on a giant heart that's in Union Square to hear the vibrations of the city, because I'm that much of a loser.
Did you
Yeah,
manage
I love
to do
this.
it?
I didn't manage to do it because I didn't have the right mics, but I'm going to manage to do it before I leave. So that's the level of stupidity that I will go
What-
to.
Well,
That's
the-
brilliant. That's
the
brilliant.
level of detail that you go
Okay,
into
or
and
detail.
that you will
Yeah,
bring to
yeah.
people's games, right?
That's what I like doing.
What is the best sound?
The best sound. I've got lots of favourite
No,
sounds.
I just want to know one.
Okay, best sound is in Wallace and Gromit when they go underground and the car drives underground chasing after giant rabbits and it's burrowing through the earth and then they vacuum all the rabbits into a big glass sphere. That's the best sound.
Tony, is that in your game?
There is a vacuum in my game. Yeah.
With a chart.
Take that sound.
Yeah, well, I'll have that sound.
And have you seen anything else this week? Or has it just been pitching?
I went to see John Wick 2. That was quite good. And I've basically like sort of wandered around the expo a bit, seen some cool games, played some cool games, and seen there's a lot of people trying to sell gloves for VR. Like loads of people trying to sell gloves for VR.
Are they demoing them?
Yes.
Seems hygiene risk.
Yeah, I wouldn't get involved. But and also it looks kind of weird, like just a lot of people doing quite unsavory kind of hand movements that just.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both so much for coming on the show.
It's a pleasure.
No worries.
We'll see you back in England.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Welcome back to GDC X Kiss Cross. One life left. We're here. End of week 1 of GDC 2017. Who's ready for week 2?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Is that just naps?
Yeah.
We do snaps. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's sessions, meetings,
It's
bitches, parties.
Occupy Moscone 2017.
Yes, it's like that Tom Hanks movie, Terminal.
There really is, like, convention centers are basically airports, aren't they? Except with less shopping.
And less airplanes.
It's a lot harder to get out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a busy week. We've had, how many guests have we had so far?
1,000
1,000 guests.
minimum.
1,000 even. Yeah.
Guest number
Amazing.
1,001 and 1,002. It's Stephen and Sarah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hey.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show. We have been struggling today a little bit because what happened last night, Chris?
There was a singing event.
Successful.
A successful.
Highly.
A
Event.
legendary. A legendary.
Yes. Let's
successful
not go that
event.
far. We need
I'll
something
go
to work
I'll go
towards.
that
It was
far,
fine.
man. Let me go that far.
It was fine.
We threw our karaoke party last night, which was very good fun. And, we had a nice time, but obviously it's left our voices a little bit broken,
And our livers
and our
a
spirits
little bit broken.
everything a little. But thankfully, we've brought on 2 of the finest voices in the video game industry right now to just take the show away from us. So
So you say that and immediately I'm like, I'm so good at my job.
Get some good mouth noises in here and ruin the stream.
Stephen, you were talking yesterday.
I was.
I came to
Yeah.
see your talk and I loved it.
Oh, thank
It was-
you. Thank you also for coming. That
No,
was
it was really great. Can you explain to the viewers and listeners what your talk was about?
Yes, my talk was called "Getting the Best Bang for Your Voiceover Buck," and it was a run through of all of the phases of the voiceover production process, from where to look for your voiceover talent to how to effectively audition them, how to effectively cast them to help meet your budget, and then what to do in the booth with them to get the best possible performance out of them. And it didn't go too deeply into any of those 4 things because it was only 30 minutes. But the idea was, a lot of indie devs maybe have 1 or 2 games out there, and they started out not having the budget to even think about voiceover, and
Or
maybe
thinking
those-
they didn't have the budget to do
right,
voiceover. Yeah.
exactly. So now maybe they're working on a game where they realize, oh my God, this would make this so much more much more valuable experience, and they don't know where to get started. So it was
And
sort of-
you, we just heard from the last guest as he was walking away. You worked with, did you work on Gears of War 4?
I did not. No.
No. He said he. Okay, nope. Ignore that.
But I
That
think
is an
I
alternative
might
fact.
look a heck of a lot like the Gears of War 4 audio dude. In which case, hey, shout out to that guy. You're looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. As an actor, I can confirm all that stuff, especially with regard to working with actors, was completely wonderful. That audition packet looked really usable and ready to go.
Hey.
And then the part that I don't get to see that I thought was really helpful and cool, so you should catch it on the vault if you can, was the way that you break down a cast into, because often you get cast for multiple roles, and so organizing things like which combinations will work, what
Yeah.
size parts can you recombine, because that sort of organizational part of it blew my mind and was very,
Right. It was.
I don't
it was
see that
all
in most
about,
talks.
like,
It was very
there was
cool.
a very limited budget for this
Yeah.
game. It was Kelvin and the Infamous Machine, which is a little point-and-click adventure, and the budget was really tight. So it was all about finding those combinations that really made every performance great without needing to spend $1 trillion.
Yeah, or hearing the same voice talking to itself or in 5
Yeah,
different places.
that-
And, yeah,
that is critical
very
too.
clever. Yeah.
I think sort of there's a bit of crossover with what you were saying with, give your voice actors plenty of information about the characters that they're going to be voicing, because obviously the more information you can give, the better auditions they can give, the better performance they can give. And there's a little bit of crossover with what we were talking about with pitches earlier as well. Like, you need to be prepared to answer all the questions that someone might have because they're interested. They need to know. And I don't... it sort of feels like maybe with games sometimes there's ideas are in people's heads, and they, it's really important to communicate it. Have you found that sometimes people don't communicate these things quite so?
Sure,
quite so well?
yeah, and part of the talk that really referenced that was usually whether you're pitching a game or you're explaining a role or a world to an actor. It's all about, I mean, the classic pitch model is it's X meets Y, right? Which in the most trivial sense can be ridiculous, but finding a way to latch into somebody's existing understanding is just such a nice shortcut. And then, okay, now take this base understanding. Like if you're casting an actor in particular, hey, Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man. Like he's a brilliant man, but he's kind of a jerk because he hasn't learned the value of friendship yet. And so like take that part of him and then add in this component of, Leslie Nielsen in Airplane. I don't know. That's a weird movie. So
Acting as remixes.
yeah, exactly. So it's just every part that already exists and everything that already exists is a Lego that you just stack on top of each other to create something new.
Now this talk, from what I understand, is meant to be thrown for indies, and maybe both of you can speak to this next question. Is though, what's it like as a voice actor though when you're not given that information? Because I understand that's actually one of the underpinning complaints of the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike is how often you're so shrouded in secrecy that you can't build the character you're trying to build. And meanwhile, I saw this really funny tweet, which was like, voice actors can't be trusted with games apparently, but like random employees will just leak information to Kotaku. Like that must not feel great.
It gets in the way of your job. It can. I mean, it's your thing to balance. I mean, there's reasons that people protect that information. They have like marketing rhythms that they want to hit. Like that's precious stuff. I get it. But yeah, like the more that you have, the more you can create with. If I know the franchise, if you're going to not give me a code name that's completely obtuse and I can't guess what it is, if I know the franchise, I know the tone of the game. I have suddenly now know the atmosphere, the seriousness, the playfulness, whatever it is. It's so valuable.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of information you would, of course, like it's such a no-brainer and a default and an industry practice for every other kind of acting. So so people who come into games are kind of puzzled and thrown off by why these things are being hidden from them. So anything you can share from the title of your game, the actual franchise, what you're going to be doing. I mean, the more I do AAA, the more I show up to sessions and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I don't know what age range, what dialect, I have no idea sometimes. And so it's just like, go.
And a while ago, we had Richard Browse 3, who was also on this show, and he was talking about working on The Church in the Darkness. And he said doing all that prep work saved him time and money because he sat down with John Patrick Lowry and Ellen McLean, and instead of every voice section, okay, give me a read like your daughter just died, and like instead of them trying to muddle their way through it, they talked about all the character reads beforehand, and then came in. It's like, all right, line 1, line 2, line 3, that seems useful.
It is, and I think I can say this. The game's out now. Who cares? For Honor, I remember we did a bunch of sessions, and so I play the female Viking raider, and she's like a big, burly, disgusting pile of muscle, and she's growly and yelly, and it's fantastic. And so we did all this in-game stuff, yelling, axing, that's a verb, yelling and axing and running and thing. Yeah, and that was great, and that was fine. And then we were doing some pickup sessions for the narration bits, so that it was like, and then we went to the samurai fortress and blah, blah. That's not what she sounds like, but it was narration. It was pure narration. And taking the character out of that context of yelling and fighting, I suddenly had to come up with or find a new color that wasn't as readily available. Like, I don't know what a big, burly Viking woman sounds like when she's just chilling out and thinking about the past as much. So I was like, so that was interesting. But the reason that my anecdote is that their voice director, Chris Brown, she's a genius and a legend. I wanted to work with her literally my entire life. She worked on Curse of Monkey Island, Grim Fandango. I mean, just has been working with Tim Schafer for 20 years. She's the best. Sent me the script in advance for the pickup session, and we talked about it. I messaged her and I was like, hey, so what are you thinking? Why are we picking this up? Where do you want to go with it? If I was just growling last time, how can we make this better? And we did that little pre-conversation that saved us time to find and play, and just got us that far ahead for the session the next day, and that just doesn't happen for everything. And so you're sitting in the booth being like, what, why, who?
Have you ever had a job where they didn't give you enough information and you went into it acting like a Viking warrior princess, but then the game came out and your Viking warrior princess voice is in a kid's platforming.
Here, have a cookie.
Yeah. How embarrassing.
I did a robot voice that I thought that I assumed.
Yes.
I love robot voices. They're wonderful.
You gave us tips last time.
Right.
When Sarah was on One Life Left a year or two ago, we got how to talk like a robot tips. So we need to rehash them though, because I don't remember.
You all learned.
Yes.
Remember what you learned last time?
Yeah.
It's musical. Robots are music, which is really fun. So you can place them, if you think about them that way, it's a really technical. Because when you think about what makes them sound non-human is a different kind of cadence where suddenly you're in the same kind of space, right? Or so you just pick a channel, and that becomes there you go, and that gives it a slightly inhuman quality. And you can be in any different place, but it's fun. But yeah, so I did this voice, and it was really playful, and there was a banter, and I assumed there was going to be an effect on it later, and then I heard it in the game, and there was no effect, and I was like, how are you supposed to know it's a robot? I assumed there was going to be a thing. Why did you tell me?
And that game was gone home.
Hi, Mom. Yeah. You don't have to pick me up. Yeah.
A robot returns home from college.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you for
having
joining
us.
us.
Awesome.
Welcome back to One Life Left, X GDC, X Gamasutra.
I love that it's show 5, and we're all still having to read what it's called off the off the wall behind.
You didn't let me finish. It's X Revengeance.
Yep. It is. It's interesting, that we've struggled with that name so much. I should paint the picture for our listeners back on the radio. We're doing this from a couple of couches in the North Hall of the Moscone. It's the first time we've ever done radio from a couch. I think it's quite a nice feeling.
Did it from a bed once.
Behind us, there's a big backdrop that says GDC, in big letters, X in gold. And then our One Life Left logo. It's an interesting backdrop. Also, we noticed on the first day there was already some blood on it.
Wait, what? Where's the blood?
Little splash there.
Who did it? Chris?
So it was there when we got here.
Did you go full post-apocalyptic hobo?
It's getting a little scabby.
That does happen to blood.
Yeah.
Let's
While we're scaring off the people in the crowd, let's meet the man who we're going to scare off from this couch.
It's quite intimidating now. There's only me here, and you're all looking at me.
And also, we're expecting you to carry this segment, so if you could just monologue for 15 minutes, that would be fantastic.
Well, now I've got a working microphone. It'll be even better.
So what brings you to GDC, James?
I mostly come for the karaoke. It's a long way to go, but it's definitely worth it.
Strong decision. You were there last night, weren't you?
I was there last night.
Okay. Did you have a nice time?
Yes, an amazing time.
Okay.
It was soul-lifting.
What was your favourite song sung?
I sang Basket Case, but I also sang Go by the Chemical Brothers with Anne.
Oh, God, we did do that, didn't
And
we?
it was amazing.
It's about Pokemon Go.
Internally, it was amazing.
Oh.
I don't know how it was externally, but that's not the point.
That's such a good time doing that.
Good times. But aside from our silly jokes, what are you doing here at GDC?
I've been pitching my unannounced game to publishers.
More pitching.
Everyone's pitching games.
Interesting.
Well,
2017 is a year of game pitches.
It's Friday, so I think everyone who was pitching is now available to not pitch.
Do you wanna
Because no
pitch
one's
to
pitching
us?
their game to us.
Pitch it now.
Well, no, because that would involve announcing it.
Can you pitch?
There was that one year that Frederick Wester from Paradox, and we did a the voice for video game pitches. So like if they like your pitch, hit the button and they'll turn around, and then you can.
Do you remember the year that we invented a game, like collectively across the people we had on? We were slowly building up a game, and
You mean 30 minutes ago with that ghost cars Venn diagrams?
I believe Zachtronics came up with the key, which was it's rather a game, not a game about. It's a game where you bury all of the bodies of people killed in first-person shooters in a sort of Minecraft universe, because that was very hot at the time. We never made it. Good times.
I'm sorry. I don't know you, sir. You have a very nice face. But could you please, besides the very nice face, which won't be appearing on the radio section of the program, could you please tell me who you are, what you work, and did you ever talk at GDC?
No, I didn't.
You didn't have a talk.
I run a small games company in Bristol in the UK called Ground Shatter. We released a game a couple of years ago called Skyscrapers, which is a single-screen multiplayer platform fighting game where you fight to the top of a collapsing
Solid
skyscraper.
pun-based name. Skyscrapers.
I
That's
like
how
it.
you should always invent games.
I get Google alerts on a kind of weekly basis for news articles where someone has misspelled the word skyscrapers, and it's disheartening. But yeah, if you make a pun-based game name, you learn how quickly people are idiots, because everyone is. I do Twitter searches and it's people saying, "Look at the view from the top of this skyscraper."
You also probably learn how many of your players don't get it. And they're like, well, why'd you misspell skyscraper? And you just go,
Yeah. I was going to have the subtitle, "It's a pun," but it was tonally weird.
How about just call the game It's a Pun?
Yeah.
so
It's a bit too meta.
You're a small multiplayer designer, small studio making multiplayer games. How do you, in the age of Steam, in the age of the indie apocalypse, in the age of the live game that has an event every month, with community managers and support staff, how do you sell it? How do you get people excited about multiplayer games that are not going to take over the world?
You just have to do. You come on things like this, and you and that rarely works. So you then have to go and speak to proper media outlets that have bigger reach.
There's usually you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised the spike. Check your metrics when you get back home. They're gonna be boop right up.
You'll be getting lots of Google alerts when you get back. It's like Skyscraper's developer goes off the rails. Great. So how's the pitching gone?
It's gone very well. And the thing about pitching publishers is they rarely say no because there's no benefit for them in doing that. So they often say yes and string you along forever. So it's a matter of separating the I'm just saying yeses from the actual yeses, which you kind of hopefully learn over time, or they get better at misleading you with their false positivity. But genuinely, I think it seems to have gone very well for me this week, and I had meetings with people that I hadn't had arranged before I came out here, which was kind of one of the goals, to meet people that I've not met before. And
that's good. Where do these meetings generally take place? Sort of environment?
Well, this year it's been kind of lofts.
Really?
People have got lofts, but are generally in basements. Which is a
lofts
thing that I
are
don't
the new
understand.
suites?
Basement lofts.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's it? I don't understand how that works. What does it look like? A loft
Well, it looks
in
like,
a basement.
It looks like someone's. It looks like the start of a house party where there's a few people dotted around. There are some drinks. There's pizza boxes, and then you can't find anyone because there's not like a reception or anything. So you have to just guess who's working there and who isn't, and then eventually you find the person you're meant to meet, and then they try and find you a space where you can talk to them.
Is he pitching a game right now?
Wait, yeah, wait, hold on. That's like Spy Party, but minus the killing.
Yeah, pitch party. No, that's a terrible
Pitch party's really going to blow up, isn't it?
I think I also just accidentally did something what someone else was talking about earlier, which was the, it's like X game, but Y. Spy Party without killing. Pitch game.
I think it's interesting that you say that you get nothing but yeses at pitches, that publishers always say yes. But we just had a guy who used to accept pitches at PlayStation. He talked about how many times he said no.
Oh, well, maybe it's
you're
just me then.
good.
I can imagine that there's going to be a quality threshold before which you're like, this is bobbins, I'm not interested in seeing this. But once you're experienced and you've got a reasonably good potential game on your hands, the questions they're asking aren't necessarily to do with the quality of the game, but how they think they're going to be able to sell that game. So those are not. I can in their shoes, it's going to be much harder to say no to someone where you think this is a good product, but I don't know how to position it. You're more likely to say, yeah, show us again in a bit, and then they'll have had time to assess the market or see what other games come along in the meantime.
Have you ever, because I think Overwatch did this to a lot of other poor game developers, have you ever pitched a game and you and the publisher were very excited about it, and then another game came along and just kind of ate the lunch on the market? That metaphor was very poorly delivered, but that seems like a very exhausting thing to happen.
Yes, I've not found myself in that position before, but I can easily see how it would happen. And there are genres that come along and are suddenly the thing. And everyone's clamoring to get the best one of those, or the Overwatch of that, or the Clash of Clans of that, or whichever is the market leader. And then some people will follow that, and other people will say, there's a established thing in this space already, we don't want anything more. So it's a kind of 50-50 whether that's a good approach or not, is to copy what's currently successful.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, James. We'll see you back in England. When are you back?
Tomorrow.
Okay, see you then.
Sunday. Yeah, I'll see you there. We'll carry on this conversation on some of our own couches.
We are back. It's One Life Left at GDC with Gamasutra on a couch in the Moscone Centre for the final time in 2017.
It's the final countdown.
I'm
mean,
just
it's-
noticing something.
Uh-huh.
I'm just sitting like this, and I'm looking at my shoe, and there's a splotch of red wine on the tip of my sneaker. It's just a hint to the hijinks that I was up to last night.
Red wine
Is
and
that what you
blood.
call blood now?
Yeah, I think if we come up with a sort of like title for this selection of podcasts, I would say "Blood on the Sign, Wine on the Shoes."
That'll
Is
be
a-
today's. That'll be
is
the
a
name of today's
lovely-
right up on the site.
That's
Chris
pretty
Wine
good.
Shoe.
It's good. It's good. Welcome back. Anyway, we are continuing with our selection of amazing guests. We're joined by Anissa. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going? And also, sorry I didn't catch your name. You're an impromptu guest.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris. Hi. Anissa, let's start with you.
Of course.
Hi. What do you
Hi.
do? Why are you here? That sounds aggressive, but we clarified earlier in the week that is not aggressive.
aggressive.
It's nice to ask
No.
to express an interest in people.
Of course, that's the first thing you ask anyone when you come to GDC. What do you do? Where do you come from? Like, what do you do?
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
Just stare them down.
So, so I am a UI artist / UX designer. Previously of Frontier Developments on the amazing games that is Elite Dangerous and Planet Coaster. Planet Coaster's out right now. Buy it because I made it. So buy it. Yeah, I'm really good at this self-PR thing.
You said previously.
Yes, previously. I've just recently left Frontier for greener pastures in London.
I'm
all
not
will
sure
be-
London has any green pastures.
I say those two words don't seem to go
No,
together.
Well, where I'm going, there will be.
Okay, that's
Damn.
exciting.
Yeah.
Do you have something lined up already?
Yes, I do. Yes, I'm starting somewhere new within a week from now, 2 weeks from now. So
But you're not going to tell us.
not yet,
where.
not yet.
Okay.
No one's
So-
telling us anything on this
I
show.
didn't play games involving shooting for a whole year, and one of the first games that I played when I came back was Elite Dangerous, which I've really enjoyed. It's like really nice. I've been playing it in a very sedate way. I'm not really interested in any of this sort of shooting or fighting. I just do very low stress textile runs between two safe planets back and
Yes.
forth in VR. Just sail there up. But one of the things that I find is really interesting about it is the UI design in there because it's hard, right? Like to put as many controls as you have in a spaceship,
Yes.
like, and make them visible to the player.
Oh,
So
yeah.
super interesting challenge. Can you tell us more about that?
For the VR aspect.
Well, I
Or-
guess it strikes me as a VR-centric game, which has also been made to work as non-VR.
Yeah, it's it's mainly a non-VR game that we've adapted into VR.
Really?
Yeah, so
Because the whole sort of looking around fits VR super well, right?
I know. I think I can't really speak for them what the main vision was, but it is supposed to be like a simulation as real as you can get if you were to have your own ship, and and we try to make the UI we wanted it to feel real futuristic but not too sci-fi, which is kind of funny because it's a sci-fi game. But yeah.
It feels pretty sci-fi to me.
Well, it is very gorgeous. The team that I worked with, they did most of the hard work on it, and I don't ever want to take credit for like the team's work, but they do put in a lot of effort into it.
One of the other things I liked very much about the UI was that it stayed faithful to the original Elite from the 80s. Like it uses the same instruments and things like that, but they're updated. That must have been interesting.
Yeah, it's because our founder David Bourbon, he really wanted to do it right, like for the current gen of machines, and he was very, I guess, assertive with a lot of things, and he wanted to make sure that we got it right, and we wanted to make sure we got it right because our fan base for Elite Dangerous is people who played the game like 30 years ago, so they're quite. What's the word? Oh, they know what they want, basically, and we have to deliver. And I'm hoping that we have delivered, because we've got a very faithful player base that we're always thankful for.
Okay, you were talking at GDC. Like your talk has a
I was.
really
Ooh.
That talk had a line out the Moscone. It
super
actually
interesting. Well, that's
wrapped around the block.
That's what I was going to say, because I think you've played the title game very well here.
Yeah.
Because right, my title was just double tap, and they didn't explain anything about it. You really had to take a chance. But then you also get the other end of the spectrum where it's just a title which is, this is what it's about. You You've used the colon to great effect. So you've got a
Exactly.
snappy title and then an explanation. Dark
Right.
patterns.
You're right, yeah. So just for the viewers at home who don't know what my title was, it was Dark Patterns, How Good UX Can Be Bad UX.
Yeah, that's good.
Da-da-da-da-da.
Strong title. Strong
Yes.
title.
I think my favorite, sorry to divert, but I think the best GDC talk name was, it was the most literal, was, I will now talk about 2 audio mix techniques for 30 minutes. That's it. It's exactly what it said on the tin.
Self-explanatory. I
So-
love that.
So can you tell me how good UX can be bad UX?
Well, in this case,
Okay.
this is why my talk mode now.
Yeah.
I've been practicing this talk for ages. Right, so when I say good UX, I mean technically good UX. They use really good techniques. They know how to guide the players to do certain things that the designers want to do. Ultimately, it leads to monetization because that's, video games is still a business, so we still need to make money. But the question is, it's bad UX in the sense that it's ethically iffy, and your players might feel like they've been cheated, or they feel like they've wasted time or money on your game because you're a bit too on the nose with all your UX techniques going like, buy this, buy that, So that's how a technically good UX could be ethically bad and makes players feel bad, and that's like anti what we want to do. We want players to feel good and nice and have fun. So yeah, it's all about ethics. It's about ethics.
It all sounds like witchcraft to me. I always find it intimidating when I meet people who do something that I absolutely can't do, and that is all of my life, every moment of every day, talking to someone who's better than me at something.
That's my comfort zone.
How scary does it get when you sit there and having produced a couple sets of data and are trying to think of the process to build the interaction that you think is going to feel pleasurable and satisfying, yet you hit that sweet spot, and you sort of sit there and go, oh my god, I'm messing with people's heads.
Yeah, especially because it's all backed in psychological principles and behavioral manipulation. Manipulation is not a really nice word, to be honest, but you do kind of
Manipulate
subtly-
people.
Yeah, you do subtly like tell people what to do without telling them they're doing it. Yeah, it's very tricky. It could be very sinister if you're not careful, which is what the whole thing is about. You don't want to treat your players as like things to get money out of. They're still people. And they still have they
Players
have
are
their
people
own
too.
Yeah, they have their own objectives of playing your game. Like they want to have fun or they want to kill some time. And we're players too, so we don't want to feel like we're being used for our money. It's like, I have feelings too.
I don't mind being used for my money.
It makes perfect sense.
Chris, I'm sorry, we haven't gotten to learn who you are yet.
That's
Who
okay. I didn't even know I was going to be here.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it's nice to sit down.
Nice. Sweet. So who are you? What do you do? Do you know things? Let's find out.
I appreciate that reference. So I'm Chris. I'm the design director of our little company, Cardboard Sword. We're working on a game that's over on the Epic booth. It's called The Siege and the Sandfox. It's a 2D stealthvania, so we're trying to mix sort of classic Metroidvania exploration with sort of a harder stealth edge, like a 2D Thief or Mark of the Ninja if you've played it.
You need to talk to Inkle about their pitching, because that was strong to me. That was like
They need your
succinct
help.
Stealthvania, you've got it in a word.
Can you tell that I've been saying this for 3 days straight?
And I can also tell that they just arbitrarily decided to drop the name of their game. I think we'll launch it today. So here's what it is.
Wow, okay.
Chris, okay, so what, what's funny is, I think Metroidvania, and the only stealth sequences I can think of in a Metroid-type game are Metroid Fusion from the Game Boy Advance, where there were sequences where you had to, it was basically kind of outrun, but it still managed to feel like you were trying to hide from the clone of Samus that was hunting you in that game. How did you sort of come to the idea? And obviously been done before with Mark of the Ninja, but what makes you think that 2D stealth works?
Without mentioning Mark of the Ninja. No,
I could pick out Gunpoint. It's another game that actually does it well, but
I think it's interesting. I mean, from a slightly cynical aspect, it's nice for us to slow the player down, because that then they're actually going to get more immersed in our world. Anything we can use to slow them down.
And you don't have to build as big a world.
Maybe. No, but our world is still quite large. And you still can run, but we want it to be a choice. I mean, when it comes down to a normal Metroid, you go, cool, what's the jump button? What's the shoot button? Set, I'm done. We want it to be more like a classic Prince of Persia, where, the platforming is measured. You move at a certain pace, you sort of plan how you're going to get around, and then when you layer onto that stealth, you've got to make sure you're not making too much noise. I just think it's more interesting. I've played plenty of games, which it's obviously fun and visceral when you have stuff where you just go, cool, I just do this as quickly as possible. I'd like you to stop and think about what you're doing before you do it.
I have another question, which is, so it's a stealth game. So to quote the fine gentleman from Shell Games, I expect you to die. How do you process? How do you make good death loops? I actually want to ask that for a stealth game, because dying is either like you hit that like at the shortest. I've played some games that actually one of the Prince of Persia's was just oops, you fell off. It grabs you, drops you back on, you keep going. That was the latest one, I think. And then there's the infamous the Silicon Knights Viking game where like the full death animation was the Valkyrie coming down, picking you up.
Too human.
Too human, yeah. And then you got Too Human. So when you're making this game, how did you approach that end of the loop?
So I guess the thing to say is that, yeah, we want the stealth to be quite lethal, so dying is going to be a thing. We want it to be quite quick. You'll come back fast. We're not going to have some long, flowery explanation of all the rest of it. But for us, the focus is, what makes or breaks any stealth game is that stretch second. The second, just as you peer out the darkness and some guy goes, So getting that right and getting you able to escalate and de-escalate it, that's where the challenge is. But it's interesting in our demo, what we do have at the moment, they are very lethal, and it doesn't have the intended effect yet, because what I was hoping is you'd go into a room and you'd see them, and they just kill you, and you're like, oh, I guess I have to avoid them. Unfortunately, people are still like, I should try harder to do exactly the same thing 5 times in a row and die. So we've still got work.
That's me. That's what I do all the time.
We've still got at least a year to go, so we've got more work to do there.
I want to throw it back to our other guest for a moment about death. How do you ever get to work on death? Death is a loop. Well, because death is often a time to take a break, right? Like this is a way you can tell players, hey, sit back, think about it for a minute, and then maybe come back later. Have you ever thought about how?
What's good death UI?
What is
UX?
good death UX? What's good death UX?
Actually, yeah, there is a bit with a lot of free-to-play games, especially if you die or you lose a life, in puzzle games and things like that. It's very important for you to make them not feel bad for dying, and you have to encourage them to try again or try more, and that's how you get them to keep coming, play your game. It's all about making your death feel nicer and not so punishing.
And actually, general question, do you two think it's appropriate to... I mean, you said you have a punishing stealth game, so maybe this is the wrong question, but do you think death is actually a good metaphor here? Can designers think of other ways to reset players after they've failed a challenge?
Ooh, wow.
Well, I will say, for this game, that is probably the area where it is the most traditionally designed, so I don't think so.
Yeah.
However, I'm really interested in that as a mechanic, and other games I'd like to work on, I wouldn't want death to be the end of it. I'd just like it to change things. And it sounds like there's been loads of talks that I wish I could have gone to that have been, going through that area. Like I know this real life RPG things where you can't fail them. Like you can't, even if your character dies, you're just someone else. And yeah, I'd love to explore that. But yeah, cheap answer for our game, certainly that's probably the most traditional aspect.
I do like how Fire Emblem games have permadeath. Like, you do recruit your members and you level them up, and then if they die within a map, they die forever for the rest of the game, and that's it, you lose them forever. And that kind of ties you a bit more emotionally to the game, and I think they've played death quite well in that game.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite death mechanics was the first Prince of Persia game, and I appreciate any game that takes a nod from it, where every time you go, the prince just, I actually may have heard a story about why they did this, but every time you fail the challenge, the prince, because he's ostensibly telling the story to Farah, I think her name's Farah, with the F, not the PH, he goes, no, wait, that's not happened, that's not quite how it went, sorry, and then you reset. And I like that. I like it when they play on that. Tales from the Borderlands actually did that, now that I remember that too.
There's something beautifully allegorical about this week coming to a close
with chat.
Brian.
About
Brian
death.
just talking about his favorite death mechanics. All right, thanks guys so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, and I hope you guys had a great GDC.
welcome back for the final time to One Life Left with Gamasutra at GDC. We're all flagging a little bit,
Yeah.
but you know,
I'm not.
it's the last day.
It's no life left now.
Very good.
Very
solid,
good.
solid.
We're out
gag.
of lives.
All right, Babsy.
All right, Steve.
What's going on?
You came when I left. What happened?
I have no idea what that means. Just
Wow.
A+ banter. What are you doing and why are you here?
Well, I came late.
Okay.
That's one thing because I left when you came.
Okay.
So, and I also do VR stuff.
Do VR.
aside.
Okay. What are you doing?
Yeah, so you know, we met when I was still in games.
Uh-huh.
I did games for 16 plus years.
Uh-huh.
I really loved it. I worked in Japan as a
Yeah.
character designer, was art director for Virtual Worlds that went bankrupt.
Uh-huh.
And then I had enough of screens, computer screens.
Interesting.
So what should I do? I went on stage and became an actress.
Of course, naturally. Makes sense.
It was, and I thought when I went to this acting school for 2 years full time, I was the only foreigner in a class of 12 Essex girls, blonde, 18-year-old, and I was like a really an outsider,
Uh-huh.
but I loved it. I always wanted to be the Terminator. That's what I told the director of the school, and they still took me, although they said, that's a very obscure choice.
Interesting.
This sounds like the plot of a game.
Oh, but our lives might be games and we just don't know it. So that brings us to VR. I mean, at this acting school, it was the first time where my body was a role in a world written by someone else, by the writer.
Uh-huh.
It was fantastic, and I thought this, like every game designer should at least do one acting course in his or her life.
Right, okay. So how has this brought you to VR? What does this mean for your
So
the next phase of your life?
after a few years, I thought, okay, screens are good again, especially when they're like this.
Oh, yeah.
I want to get as far away from them. Now I want them on my eyeball.
And so when I tried the first DK1, Heather Kelly actually, it's Heather Kelly's fault. It was just a prototype of Super Hypercube. And I put it on, it was just a blue room with a brown desk, super low poly. Okay, this is my life, I want to be in that forever.
And,
And then I
and are
started.
you in that forever? I mean, you're here now, so clearly not.
Well, we don't know yet, you know,
Okay.
we don't know what
All
it
right,
is,
I
but
see. To be honest,
yes.
if I was going to simulate something, I wouldn't simulate this. this would be low on my list.
I would
and
simulate-
make
I would-
us better.
I would
Would you
simulate
simulate Mario?
hydration,
I
yeah.
don't, yeah, maybe
this
actually.
has always been my dream.
Really? Oh, okay, good. I'm glad. Glad we're fulfilling that. So what?
So-
What are you doing now?
Yeah, so I started my own VR production company like 1.5 years ago, and we try to explore different formats of entertainment. Nobody
Okay.
knows yet what VR is for, except this.
Okay.
So the first thing we did was the first VR drama series, a
Oh, wow.
sci-fi series based on the last 3 human beings on Earth, and one of them is you,
No.
or you. Whoever.
Not me. Never me. No.
I mean, yeah.
I wouldn't have made it.
It could be.
So you're one of the last 3 humans on Earth in VR.
Yes.
Okay, you're
And
seeing this through VR, or is it in VR?
It is in VR.
Okay.
And in the same date almost, like 1 year ago,
Uh-huh.
I was at CERN in Geneva
Okay.
and went to see the big machines.
Oh wow.
And I thought, well, now I can go die because my childhood dream came true, but I didn't die luckily yet, so I could do this VR show about the last 3 human beings on Earth that are quantum scientists at CERN in an underground lab.
So is this something people can see?
Yes,
Like, is this?
it's right now at the film festivals, for example, Cannes, and
Okay.
it was at Rotterdam. I couldn't afford the American film festivals, so...
How do you show something at a film festival in VR? How do you do
Oh, so a lot of film festivals now, they have their own VR track.
Okay.
So, and that's how they do it.
that? Okay. What's the reception been like?
Very interesting because... So we optimized it. It's a stereoscopic 360 piece. It's a pilot of a whole series. And we wanted to be future-proof. And 1 year ago when we shot it, we wanted to do it for the best. So we did it for the HTC Vive. with subtle gaze interaction stuff. We want you to have the feeling of you are in this claustrophobic room with these actors, like very close, like especially with me. I come very close in the piece, and I think it's amazing. So when we tried it with our at festivals, the heart rate goes really like this. People get like blush in their faces, especially I don't want to generalize, but women are even more or they show it maybe more. They're taken away by when they have the glasses on. Like, oh, I want to hug you, or wow, don't come too close. It's very the presence is really there. Obviously, the piece is just super simple, natural, like European naturalistic piece. We rebuilt the set of CERN. There's no visual effects, no user interface. It's just you and two other people in one little room.
What's the death mechanic like?
Should I tell you, or do you want to experience yourself?
I'll need to experience it myself.
Okay.
I won't spoil it.
So you've been. This is the end right now. Like this is the death mechanic
This
of One
is
Life
the-
Left
yeah.
right now.
Commence death sequence.
So before we go,
Yeah.
can you tell us the best thing you've seen this week at
At
GDC,
GDC?
apart from this?
Oh, apart from this. I maybe seeing you getting up the lift when I was leaving.
Okay. But have you seen anything actually worthwhile?
No, I think so I went to VRDC most of the time.
Of course.
It was very useful, I think. There were
Right.
a lot of good talks. An amazing talk was about education through VR. I really like that. It was very good. And I don't even remember what happened 30 minutes ago. Don't ask me these things.
It's been a busy week for
But
all of us, I think.
I just wanted to say that I think I might go back to games a bit more.
Right.
So after having this detour in drama, which was amazing,
Yeah.
our next piece will be a real-time interactive story world.
That's super exciting.
So it's going back to my
Cool.
roots.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for still being alive for me. Still, but there's only one life left. So.
Chris.
Chris.
Yes. This is kind of sad.
Isn't
We're
it?
Kind of.
We've brought-
We're already at the end. I can't believe it.
Who'd have
Alex,
thought?
Alex,
Alex has joined us.
has joined us.
Hello. I've come to say hello so we
yeah.
could say goodbye.
Oh.
You say goodbye, and I say hello.
No, we're all going to have to say goodbye.
Yes.
Hello.
We are all
Hello.
saying goodbye. But this has been a great week. Despite the lack of water, despite the alcohol abuse,
Despite it being the coldest GDC
yeah,
on
despite
record.
it being the coldest GDC
Despite-
on record.
Despite the death mechanics.
But
It's
these
been,
couches.
Yeah.
That Alex, you're leaning off screen.
The
Sorry.
couches worked out great. Yeah.
So I want to say thank you from One Life Left to Gamasutra and GDC for having us. We don't Twitch, and it's been excellent learning from some of the best.
Yeah,
best
it's
in
been
the
super
business.
good. I want to thank Bryant specifically for his excellent production work all week. It's been very, very, very good. We literally wouldn't be able to do this without you, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everyone who's watched and everyone who's listening back home in England as well, or wherever you are on the One Life Left podcast. Super, super, super pleased to be out here again. Fifth
Yeah.
year.
Fifth year. So we'll be putting these shows out as podcasts, and they'll be going out on Resonance 104.4 FM, the best radio station in the world.
Or on the best website in the world. What's that, Chris?
Gamasutra.com. I couldn't think of anything witty right there. I was going to say
And-
something.
I think the truth is funny
I'm
enough.
done. My brain's melted.
If
Right.
you brilliant radio listeners, if you'd like more of these developer interviews, I'd like to just remind you that you can subscribe to the Gamasutra Twitch channel to either watch all of what we've produced here at GDC or for more interviews with some of the great people you saw here.
Your numbers are going to go through the roof.
Through the
now.
roof.
Get
Through the
ready.
roof.
Get ready.
So thank you to Gamasutra, thank you to GDC for having us, thank you to all our incredible guests. We've had such a lineup this year.
It's been so good.
We are looking forward to coming back next year. I assume it went well.
I mean,
I'm gonna
I
say
would let's not jump to conclusions.
I'm going to assume it went
Nothing's
well.
on fire yet.
Yes, so thank you for everyone who's been on, thank you for everyone who's listened, and we are going to go and have a nap.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Bye.
I just woke up.
All right, someone hop on the machine and turn it off because we're still live on Twitch. So mute and